The 1998 FIA World Rally Championship, including Colin McRae and the brand new Ford Focus in its sparkling new livery. This newcomer to the championship, looking impressive already.
Well, I see over the Christmas period a lot of you have been watching this 1999 Monte Carlo rally footage. I see it went down quite well. Monte Carlo obviously was the very first event for the Focus WRC. Looked fantastic in its martini livery. I mean, everything was set up for a great season. But things happened a little late in terms of the car build, and we didn't have that much time to do some testing. And on the build-up for Monte Carlo, we went out in late December to do some testing for the event. And we found that up in the mountains, where the conditions were cold and wet and a little bit snowy in places, we found the car was way too hard on the suspension. We couldn't get the car to have any feeling or work at all. So we then shifted base and we went to the D44, which was just up above Saint-Tropez, where the roads were dry and relatively warmer down there, to see if we could lean on the car. And we still couldn't get the car to handle very well. So they looked at it and decided that the problem was we were on way too hard a spring and everything else, and we didn't have anything softer because we'd gone as soft as we could go. So it meant that we could go home and spend Christmas at home while they got some new springs made. And then we made another venture out to Monte Carlo, went back to the same piece of road by Saint-Tropez and tested with some softer springs. And then all of a sudden the car started to work a little better. But then unfortunately a power steering pipe failed, sprayed oil everywhere, caused a fire, and then poor old test car, the wiring loom had been wiped out and we were unable to do any more testing. So we still then had to go home, spend New Year at home, and went out on the 2nd of January back out to Monte Carlo, and then we started testing in earnest for the event. So altogether it was a little bit of a panic, but in Monte Carlo we had a great looking rally car there. So we set off from Monte Carlo going up towards Gap, and by the time we got to Gap we had a bit of a list of little issues in the car. The oil light was on and bits and pieces, so just a little bit of teething issues, but fix the car they did. And then we woke up the next morning to set off into stage 1 of the rally. Now, as it happened, stage 1 was going to be one hell of a stage. It was 48.3 kilometers long, so it wasn't for the faint-hearted, of which the first 11 kilometers were on sort of icy, snow, rutted road, which ended up freezing between the ice notes and the rally, and the road was treacherous. It was really bad. So we set off, and there was a few cars off, gravel cars going off at a bridge. Carlos Sainz was off, but, you know, we thought it was going to be hellish, and hellish it was. So I'll just go through this bit of onboard that you can see together, and it gives you some idea of what we're facing. Now, with the conditions, after 11 kilometers, it was 37 kilometers of pretty good tarmac, maybe a bit wet. So the temptation was always to take a racing tire or an intermediate, but I think we chose a wide mixed tire to give us some help in the snow and ice on the first part, which probably helped us a little bit. And you can see here the road is more or less pretty white at the sides and very heavily rutted. Very difficult to keep it on the line, and when it gets off the line it was a bit twitchy, but it was a case of just keep it neat and get through this section. The one thing you can rely on with Colin is getting through this, because his car control was phenomenal. This stage actually started just over 3 k's into the stage, and there was a bridge just shortly after the start where a lot of cars went off. It was really bad. You can see how much you have to slow down. There's Carlos Sainz there off on the right. Oh, bit of a tank slapper there. But well held. Now he's really cruising it. Because it's these bridges, when you've got airflow going under an icy bridge, it makes the surface even worse than the road on the lead up and the road after it, because the bridge is so much colder. So you really have to respect that. But then, for no known reason, we just lost power or something to do with the ECU. We couldn't figure out what it was. It was barely running and then it stalled. Obviously been reported back here that we'd stopped.
Okay, merci, on continue.
And we're continuing. So it did restart and we got going again. But shortly after that, then we had to stop again because we had a fire in the back of the car. Because we'd done so little running, and especially with the GPS tracker box in the back, it was actually the heat from the exhaust was burning the box, and we had to stop because we were choking from the smoke. But continue we did, and we actually did get to the end of the stage in the end. You can see here the car's just with those mixed tyre moving around a little bit. But here we've got UR Kankkunen pulling into the finish, who overtook us while we stopped, and we just followed him to the end. But unfortunately, you know, in comparison with the fastest guy, Tommy, I think it was Tommy or Panizzi, I can't remember, but we were 2 minutes and 20 seconds down.
What happens?
Colin was going to rush to tell his story here. We were lucky to get to the finish.
What happened?
We had a problem with the engine stopped, and then also the GPS box was on fire.
Can you continue?
Yeah, we continue, yeah.
You know, many people off the road here in this stage.
As it was, we did continue, and we had a good rally after that. You know, everything went pretty well. We sort of held our own. If anything, took some time out of Tommy Mäkinen. And we actually came up, I think we did have a third place, I think, at the end. But unfortunately, that was short-lived because the team had engineered something in the water pump, didn't give us any performance advantage.
A very, very impressive opening result, though, for the Ford Focus, despite the wrangling and scrutineering. To finish in third place on its debut is a great move by any rally car.
But it was deemed illegal. So the first result for the Focus wasn't to be, and retire we did. But 99 overall was a very frustrating year for us. And at the end of the day, we did pick up some wins, but Monte Carlo anyway. We finished, but we didn't.